Hey, welcome back everybody. I want to kind of walk you through some of the stuff that we're doing on the Flathead Plymouth. This is the next segment. So I know it's been a while since I posted that video, but man, finding parts and gathering all the parts that you need for a 1937 Plymouth, it takes some time, but I think we're there. We did pretty good here. Now, one of the things I want to do before I walk you through these parts is I want to talk to you about this company here. I'll put it up there so you can see it. Now, I don't plug a lot of companies, and I do here and there. If I'm not real thrilled with the service of a company, or I'm unhappy with their service, I don't say anything. I don't badmouth people. I just don't mention them. But I want to mention this particular company here, and the name of it, you can get a shot of that, is Andy Birnbaum Auto Parts. Man, I want to tell you, these guys are in Massachusetts, in West Newton, Massachusetts, and if you want to, I'm going to go ahead and put their address up there. If you guys want to pause the video, if you need this information. And I'm going to tell you something, if you are building one of these old engines, and they actually have parts from 1930 all the way up to 62. If you're building one of these classic cars, you're doing restoration, I'm telling you, this is the guy or the people that you want to talk to. Now, let me tell you what happened with some parts that I ordered from Birnbaum's Auto. They ship USPS, the Postal Service. When I got the box of parts, there was nothing in that box except 2 valves and a couple keepers. And I ordered a whole big box of parts. The box had been smashed and came apart. So what happened at the Postal Service sorting facility, they used machines. And apparently one of the machines dropped the box and busted it open, and all the parts went all over. And they actually delivered the box to me, right? So I'm thinking, what is this, you know? So the Postal Service, basically, I tried to put a claim in with them, and they basically told me to stick it because, you know, they have a claims process, but they don't, the Postal Service will never give you any money. So I called Birnbaum's back, and I'm thinking, oh gosh, you know, I don't know what's going to happen here. Am I, you know, because it really wasn't their fault that the Postal Service screwed up. So I called Birnbaum's, and the guy on the phone was very friendly, and I wish I would have got his name. But I got to tell you guys, I was stunned because Birnbaum's Automotive turned around and sent me a brand new box of all those parts. And we're talking a lot of money here. No questions asked. They just sent me another box of parts. And they said, yeah, we know how the Postal Service is. Don't bother with them because they're not going to give you anything. And he was right, they didn't. So this place here, Andy Birnbaum Auto Parts, these guys are top notch, buddy. Let me tell you, I highly recommend them, and I've got great respect for them. So I wanted to plug them because they treated us so well on this deal. They went way beyond what, you know, I've had stuff lost in the mail before as far as parts and stuff that's missing, and I've dealt with companies, even big name companies, where the whole thing just turned into this big, like, 2-month-long ordeal, and they you know, and they ended up basically, I ended up basically eating most of it because they wouldn't stand behind, you know, their products, or they wouldn't guarantee their shipment or whatever. But these guys, they impressed me. All right, so let me tell you what we got here. I'll walk you through these parts one at a time. And we got, again, all these parts from Birnbaum's. Of course, we got the rings. We've got the pistons, and the pistons are out of the box because we had all this stuff balanced over at the balance shop. But we got our new pistons and pins, and these pistons and pins were made by, I take it back, the pistons and the rings were not Birnbaum, they were Egge. There's a company in California called Egge Machine Company, E-G-G-E, and they specialize in a lot of this really old stuff, and if they don't have it, they'll make it for you. Egge is another company I would highly recommend. I've been dealing with Egge for probably 25 or 30 years now, and they've never let me down. And most of the time, if they don't have the part that you need, they will make it, especially if it's a piston or something like that. So they made our pistons for us. So we got the pistons, a box of pistons here in the rings from Aggie. Now, from Birnbaum's, what's really cool, these are the rod bearings. And if you look at that box, one of the things that's super cool about this is new old stock. I mean, these boxes look like from the 1940s or 50s. And so, but they're brand new bearings. So we got all of our rod bearings here, and they're brand new, original, never been installed in anything. So we got the new bearings for the crankshaft. We got the main bearings as well. And I thought this box was kind of cool. This is the thrust bearing. It came in, and it says Thompson Products. Well, Thompson Products, that's old stuff. That's new old stock. The bearings have been sitting around on the shelf for a long time, but and these older new old stock bearings, the nice thing about them is this stuff is all made in America. I mean, this is original American manufacturing here. A lot of this stuff's made overseas today. So we got the rod bearings, the main bearings, and of course a brand spanking new oil pump. We want to replace that. So there's our oil pump, and this again was Andy Birnbaum. We got our new timing chain and gear set with our new chain. So we got the gear set. And then over here we have a set of the new valve guides that we're going to put in the block. So we got new valve guides, we got a new set of brand new valve springs, and then of course we have our 12 new intake and exhaust valves. We also, from Birnbaum's, were able to get the kit. This is the spring kit that is for the oil pressure relief valve that's located in the block. So we were able to get the seal and the springs that are necessary for that. We got a brand new set of connecting rods. Now, what we did on the connecting rods is I have the old rods here, but they needed new bushings, and they were out around a lot, and they needed new bolts, and it actually was gonna not be as cost effective to get the rods resized and rebushed and everything as it would have been just to buy a new set of rods. So we went ahead and bought a new set of rods, and again, these are new old stock from Birnbaum's. We got a new bolt set. Now, as far as the head studs, man, I'm going to tell you guys, the block had head studs in it, and I'm not sure, it's not factory. Somebody put them in. It might have been, 30, 40 years ago or whatever. But I have the studs right here. That many studs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is how many studs came out of that block that did not snap off. Only 5 of them. The rest of them, I had to set it up on the seat and guide machine table, and I had to drill every single one of those out, and I went through a bunch of drill bits because, man, these bolts are hard. I don't know what kind of bolts studs they are, but these things are really hard to drill. So I got about 7.5 hours into drilling the broken head studs out of that block. Yeah, so a lot of work. We're replacing them with brand new head bolts. Okay, so we got a brand new set of head bolts, again from Andy Birnbaum's Automotive. The camshaft, now the customer, Chris, my customer, the guy that owns the engine, he supplied the cam. When I picked up the stuff, he gave me the cam. So this is a regrind round cam, and I'm not sure where this came from, but it's a regrind. And then, of course, along with the cam, he supplied the new tappets, the new reground tappets are going to go with it. So we got that as a set. We got the camshaft. Now, one of the things I would advise you guys on these old flathead engines is don't throw the old cam and followers away, because they will regrind those. In fact, one of the things we have to do for Chris is we got to get him back the old cam and the tappets, because they charged him a core charge on that stuff. So he needs to send that back and get some credit for it. And we've got that stuff set aside for him. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, the next thing is, as far as the lower end, the crankshaft is here too. I forgot about that. I don't remember if I actually mentioned this in another video or the other video, but I think I did notice that This is Chris's old crankshaft, and the problem we ran into is the thrust back here is just absolutely destroyed. So I searched around. It wasn't easy, but I found a crankshaft. And I didn't buy this from any company. I just found a guy on the internet selling this, and it was he had an extra crank because he did a couple of these engines, but it's in good shape. It's freshly reground, ready to go in, and it matches. We got the bearings to match it, so we were able to get a really nice crankshaft, replacement crankshaft for this, because his turned out to be toast. The other thing is, he also supplied, and this was Chris, he also supplied the gasket set. We've got a full gasket set here. We've got, of course, you can see the new head gasket and all that. So all this stuff the customer supplied. So we have pretty much everything we need to go ahead and get this thing together. Now I still have to do the valve job. We did get the cylinder work done. We had to do some sleeving and stuff on the block. I didn't really film into that because, I don't know, most people, they're not really interested in that. They think that stuff's boring because it's not something that they can do. Most people are just going to send their block out and have it bored and sleeved or whatever's done to it. But the valve job I kind of want to walk you through, because I want to show you how we do the guides and the seats, because that stuff you can do on the bench. I mean, you can do the valve job on these. So, all right. That's pretty much it. If you have any questions on any of that stuff, ask below. So right now, we're going to take a walk over to the block shop, and it's actually going to be tomorrow when I film that, but as far as the video goes, it's going to be like 10 seconds from now. So let's head over there and take a look at the block. Okay guys, so we're over in the block shop now, and we're going to have to resurface the block, the deck surface. This is the Storm Vulcan milling machine. Well, since the valves and the guides and all that stuff are in the block, I'm just going to go ahead and do the guide work and stuff while I've got it set up here, because we've got it anchored to the table for the milling, and it's a perfect opportunity to go ahead and R&R the guides. So this is our guide driver tool, and the guides in these, you got to drive them out down, and then of course I'll show you how to set the height and everything. The one thing you want to make sure you would do is wear some kind of eye protection when you do this. So that's our first valve guide. They've been in there a long time, and it came out pretty hard, but we got her out of there. And if you look, you can see that it's basically the same thing that we had. You can also look and see where the depth is, and you can see where this was in the block, so that we get this one at the same height. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and knock all of those out with the air hammer. I won't make you watch all of that, but I'm going to go ahead and get all of the guides out, and then we'll start putting the new ones in. Alright guys, so got all the old valve guides out. We'll set those aside. I'm going to give them back to the customer. We've got our new valve guides in here. The intake and exhaust valve guide on the Plymouth engines is the same. There's no difference, and actually all the valves are the same too, intake and exhaust valves. I'm going to go ahead and use this special lubricant that we have for putting guides in, because we don't want to stress or tweak the guide at all. This stuff works really well. It's made by Sunnin. So we're just going to put a nice good coating of this on there. This stuff's really sticky. Does a really good job of sticking to the guides. Now we'll put a tiny shot in each guide hole. And we'll go to town putting our guides in. I measured the height of the guide, and so we're going to put them in right at the same height they came out at. Again, make sure you wear, if you're going to do this, some kind of eye protection. Now, I don't think that's in far enough, but I'm going to take a measurement just to make sure I don't go too far with it. Because if you go too far, you got to drive the guide back out and start over. You can't come and back it up from this side. There's no way to get in there. I got a long way to go. But that's okay. Right on the money. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put all the new guides in. Once I get them in, we'll come back and we'll start working on this valve job. Okay guys, so we got the valve guides in. I got them all located at the height they're supposed to be, and I also did just a cleanup ream on them to trim them to size. Sometimes when you knock them in like that or drive them in with an air hammer, it can tweak the guide a little bit, and you always want to run a reamer through there. And I run the correct size reamer so that our valves they fit real nice. They're all working real good with the new guides. So the next thing is I need to talk to you about cutting these seats. And again, normally this is probably something that a machine shop is going to do for you, but I'll walk you through the process because I kind of want you to see. Now, normally we would set this up on a machine and we would cut the seats with seat cutters, or you can grind them too with a grinder, and we'll probably end up finishing them with a grinder. I'm not sure. However, in this situation, it's a little different because now I have set the block up on the machine. We've got our seat and guide machine here. You can see the corner of it. I've taken the cradle off there and set it up there before, but I didn't really think that was necessary for this because basically we have remote or portable seat cutters that we can use on this. So I'll move the camera, get a close-up on this. Okay guys, so what we want to do is we want to look at these angles. The Chrysler has a 45-degree angle on the valve, and we're going to go in and we're going to true up that angle with a cutter here, and we'll probably finish it with a stone, and also we'll probably lap them in just to make sure that we got a really good seal. This is a solid carbide pilot. That's the correct size for our guides, which is 11/32. So then we're just going to take this portable cutter and we'll get on there, and this is a 45-degree angle on here. And once we get that on there, we're just going to true up that angle so that we don't have any imperfections or anything on it. You don't want to take any more off of this than you need to just to true it up. There's really no reason to. So the seats on this block are actually in really good condition, but you can see that we're truing up that angle there, and we want to keep going until we get that entire angle trued up. And then of course this is just a rough cut. We're gonna go in and finish all that with some stones and then some lapping to make sure that everything is nice and true, and we get a really good finish on it. This is just an initial cut to see where we're at, to see what our seat looks like. So you can see, guys, we got a nice true seat all the way around, and again, this is just a rough cut. We're going to finish it up with our stones, but it's a good start to a valve job. So I'm going to go ahead and rough cut all these, and then we'll hit them with the stones, for our secondary setup, and then we're going to lap them in and we'll find out what our seat location is. But it's looking really good. The guides look like they went in nice and straight. Everything's concentric, so we're on our way. And once I get these all done, I'll get back to you and we'll take a look at them and see where our seat locations are. Okay, so hopefully you saw that. What I did here, guys, is that was the last one. I wanted you to see it. We went through, once I hit them initially with the solid cutter, we went in with our stones and trued them up, and I used 3 different angles here. I used the 45 for the seating angle, then a 30, and then a 15 on top. We haven't actually verified that the seats are in the correct location yet, but I've done this long enough that they're going to be really close. And so basically all the seats are final cut, and we just need to make sure that they're located correctly, and we'll do that by lapping them. Once that's done, the valve job, the seat and guide work is basically done. We did bore this block, and I had to put a couple sleeves in it. I think I mentioned that in the last one. So once we get that done, I'll show you how to lap a couple of these valves, and then we're going to go ahead and deck this thing and true up that surface. So now let's talk about lapping these valves. This is lapping compound, and you want to make sure it's always a good idea to do this. And keep in mind that you got to final wash everything when you're done. Lapping compound is a little bit abrasive, and so of course we're going to final wash it. You want to take some of your lapping compound and you want to go to multiple places on the valve here. 4 or 5 spots. You want to be careful not to get any of that compound on the valve stem here. And then we just drop our valve in, and we'll do that to both of these here. And then once we lap them, I'll show you what they look like. The nice thing about lapping is, number one, it gives a really good final seal. It really seals up the valve job really well, and also it gives us our seat location. It shows us where the seat's at. Now, normally we have a stick with a suction cup on it that we lap these with. Unfortunately, a buddy of mine borrowed my lapping stick and I don't have it. So another way you can do this is just this, and you don't want to turn this more than about a third of a turn or so. We're just going to go back and forth, and I want you to listen to this. You can hear that that's abrasive in there. So we're just going to go back and forth. And you'll hear the sound change as you do this. It's real abrasive at first, and then it smooths out, because what we're doing is we're knocking any of the imperfections that may be on that seat off of there, and it's going to leave an imprint and show you just exactly where that seat location is. The seat location is important because things get hot and they expand and so forth, and we got to make sure that that seat is basically centered on that valve. That's what we want to see. So the noise, the abrasive sound has gotten much smoother. We've got that valve lapped down. That's really all there is to it. And like I said, if you have a lapping stick, it's a lot easier, but unfortunately, I lent it out and never got it back. But you can do it this way. All right, about 30 to 45 seconds. Now let's take a look. We'll pull that out. We'll take a look at that seat area and see what we got. Go ahead and wipe the valve area, and you also want to wipe the seat out real good too. We're gonna have to final wash this and rejet it, but you want to get as much of that grit out of there as possible. Okay, so let's take a look at our seat here. Well, what we want is that seating area to be just about in the middle, and it is. You can see the gray area on the valve there. That gray area is where our seat location is. Gives the width of the seat, and that's a really good seat location right there. Where you see the shiny part just above and below the gray area, and the gray area encompasses about 2/3 of the valve there. That is a really good seat. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lap them all and make sure they're all located correctly. And then once you get that done, you got to make sure you keep these valves in order. Put them in a board or something and keep them in order. They need to stay. Whatever seat that you lapped it with, it needs to stay with that respective seat. Yeah, so I'll get that done and then we'll come back and we'll deck this turkey.
You can tell one on down this road.
right, guys, so that's basically all of the machine work that we're going to do. We put the sleeves in it. I bored it and honed it. You saw the guide work on camera, the guide work, the seat work. That's all done. And then, of course, the decking of the block, which pretty much rounds out all the machine work that needs to be done on this thing. The next thing we're going to do is I'm going to get this off here, run it through the jet wash, and then final wash it. And then we start the assembly process. We start putting this together. I'll probably do the valve train first, and then the lower end, the piston rod assemblies and so forth. So I think I'm going to cut the video off right there. We'll start the next one and we'll title it Assembly. But it's going to happen very soon. I'm going to try to get this thing done this week. Customers have been waiting a long time. He's been very patient, and I need to get this baby done. So yeah, I appreciate you watching. Ask any questions that you have below, and we're well on our way to getting this thing done. We're going to have a real nice little original flathead engine here. So I appreciate you watching, and I will talk to you very soon, I promise.